What if something goes wrong, right? Which I have to say, with all the testing, the background checks and things like that, we really minimize the issues that go wrong. But, it's like I say all the time, sperm, eggs, embryos, stuff happens. So here's how the contract protects everybody. If there are medical complications, we've already set parameters on what happens. If there's testing that the surrogate has to do, additional medical procedures, occasionally, which now it is occasionally, the surrogate may have to go in for an amniocentesis. What happens if that's recommended by the doctor, right? Do the intended parents want to do it? When I had my surrogacy, they just wanted to do it just because, the egg was over 35. Fine. I said no. I didn't want to risk it. There's a very small risk. So you definitely discuss those terms before, right? Keep in mind that the surrogate does have bodily autonomy. It is her body. She is pregnant. That's why we want to talk about those issues before the pregnancy starts, right? If there are additional medical bills, the intended parents do pay for that. Hopefully, insurance will cover that, right? What if there's a multiple pregnancy? Again, thank God we don't have that very often anymore. It's one embryo transfer for the most part. But if there is a multiple pregnancy, we talk about the additional fees because it's an additional stress on the pregnant woman's body. I mean, it's two. My surrogate gave birth to my two children. And while she did it vaginally at nearly 38 weeks, she really felt it was a lot. I mean, she could feel it, two babies instead of one. So we have clear agreements on what's going to happen, what's going to happen if, there's an issue with the baby. Again, thank God that doesn't happen very often, but if there is, do the intended parents and the surrogates agree to terminate at a certain point? Do they agree to carry the pregnancy no matter what? What if it's, God forbid, triplets? Thank God it doesn't happen very often, but we cover all those things in the contract. We also cover if the intended parents divorce. Now, I know you're thinking, what about the surrogate? When the surrogate gets divorced, actually, the stress is gone for her. It's actually, early in my career, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so awful. But then an attorney tell me, listen, it's better for the surrogate. She was probably under an incredible additional amount of stress. I said, oh my gosh, you're so right. So if the intended parents do separate or divorce, because remember, a lot of them have gone through infertility, they may have had failed cycles on their own. If they divorce or they break up, they're still the parents. It's just like if they were pregnant themselves, no matter if it was two men, two women, a man and a woman, they are still the baby. We do talk about it in the contract, though. If they get divorced, we put their names on the birth certificate. They have to then, after divorce or during their divorce agreement, talk about custody, child support, but they are both the parents. When they sign that contract, the intent to parent controls, especially most states do have statutes. And, from that moment on, you are essentially the parents. Yes, we get a judgment of parentage because we need to tell the authorities, the hospital, the vital records department that that woman who gave birth is not the parent. She does not want to come home with the baby. She knows it's your baby, not hers. So we definitely do talk about so many issues in the contract. That's why the contract, my contract anyways, is like 40 pages. I try not to have repetition. Yes, repetition is the mother of learning, but in a contract, we just like to say it once, sometimes twice, but no more than twice. Because seriously, my contract could be like hundreds of pages. And really, who wants to read that? It's too much. So we like to keep it at 40. We'd like to cover everything. If you have any questions, as always, you can reach me. You can DM me. You can contact me. Happy to answer any questions. And hopefully you have a good, safe journey. And wherever you're at in your journey, I wish you the best of luck. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.